toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Just about to start, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad to have you here for show number 479. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And on today's show, our special guest, Dan Crowell from Glenmorangie, is here to rescue the program. Now, let me explain. It's been a tough couple of weeks for Smokin' and Toastin'. A couple of weeks ago, we had a hostile beer guy on who, basically tried to take over the show. Thanks to Terry and his immaculate editing skills, we were able to salvage the program, but it was an uphill fight. And then last week, we had a couple of great guests. Joseph Beck and Scott Bayer from O.H. Ingram were here in the Ingram Distillery. But Roberto showed up, and so we
hostile witnesses everywhere.
We need to right the ship, and Dan Crowell is the perfect guy to do that. Welcome back to the show, Dan. We are so glad to have you, man.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I always love hanging out with you guys, and sorry about that. So, beer usually makes me a lot less hostile, unless then there's that point where it goes from less to more. I guess.
Well, I think that's probably the Rubicon that was crossed on that particular show.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be kind of mysterious about it, so people will want to go back and listen to number 477.
It's worth a listen
and
if you
see
want
what
to.
happened.
Oh yeah, it's worth a listen.
Bart was definitely full of gusto.
Worth a listen.
I see.
Gusto is not the first word that came to my mind, but we'll go with that. We'll go with that for the purpose of the program.
Listen. Love Bart. He got a little bit talkative.
Yeah. He was just a bit. It was a little over the top. It happens.
It's one of those.
It happens.
Gracious host.
Listen, when your beer is as good as Copperhead Brewing,
it's unbelievable.
It's tough to say, oh, I don't need one more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of which, I'm drinking the Medusa
Especially when they were
again.
that fresh.
Oh yeah. And you guys went in
right
and
off
did
of the brake
a
tank,
thing right off
yes.
the brake with the brake tank or the bright tank?
Bright
The bright
tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that beer was exceptional.
That's the last step before it goes to bottles. That's as fresh as a beer gets.
I love it.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, Dan.
Actually, Ian hugged the tank. Just
well,
so you know.
yeah, that's a tradition here.
And though I was supposed to turn the camera off, I didn't. So I think it's going to make it to the video.
Excellent.
That started with Norm on an episode of Cheers, and we're carrying that tradition
Oh,
forward
good.
every
Good.
time Dan, let me ask you this: is there an equivalent in the whiskey world to that thing of getting beer right out of the bright tank, and it's so fresh and so wonderful? Does any of that apply in the world of Scotch whiskey?
I think the closest that, and it's not close at all, but one of the real joys I think of particularly distillery tours is when they give you a chance to try the new make. Particularly at still strength, because what it does is it shows you, it's sort of you being present at the birth of what will become that whiskey.
Yeah.
You get to sort of see the genesis moment, and then
But it's
once you're able to.
Almost more an educational thing, though. Here's a starting thing. Yeah.
Yes, not necessarily. Sometimes it's quite pleasant. Sometimes it isn't as pleasant. But I think in terms of like the full bandwidth of the joy of a thing, is sort of in situ, is it tends to me to be more about the situation, because the whiskey's going to be fairly, static as far as that goes. But if you happen to find yourself, I think Ian's experience in being at the brewery and having it lend a contextual sense. Whiskey-wise, I think it's a little bit more about context and company to a degree.
Yeah.
It's always fun to drink with the master distiller, or with distillery managers, or even with the distillery workers. Pulling a dram out of a cask with the warehouse guys, and mucking in and being covered in crap. That there's nothing quite like that in all the world. So I think as much as it is, the liquid is a big part of it, but the situation, the context of it, just sort of gives it a resonancy that makes every subsequent experience with that whiskey that much more resonant and relevant to you.
That explanation is why we should all just quit and make this the Dan Crowell
That's
show.
amazing.
Now, not to get too far into the weeds before we've even tried the beverage of mystery,
Sure.
Dan, but how does the master distiller know? Let's say a situation like you've described, and you try that, that really fresh mixture of the spirit, and it's just not quite there. But with aging, it really will be. How does the master distiller know that? How does he sip it and go, all right, this isn't quite there, but boy, in 8 years, it's going to be amazing.
Right.
How do they know that?
I've had that same conversation with both Dr. Bill Lumsden, our master distiller, and Gillian McDonald, our master blender. And it comes back to, particularly with the things that are being produced for the core range, the things that are available on a regular basis. There are flavor markers and precursors in place that indicate a certain readiness or not readiness. I think what they would say about the one-offs, the limited release items, the things that have a certain unusual nature about them, whether it's cast type or something that happened during fermentation, or something that, like at Ardbeg when the boiler broke down and the wash sat for weeks and weeks and weeks. By the time you get to just making those decisions, making those maturation decisions, I think it comes down to a level of experience in terms of the two of them having worked together for decades, and Bill having, this is his 31st year at Glenmorangie. I think there's an element of trial and error where those decisions that were made in the past rendered an unpleasing result when too much time went by. Then I can give you a specific example of that one from Bill's tenure. And also an agreement that is reached between the producer and the whiskey and nature and time and wood that is never really. Let's say you take it out of cask and put it in a bottle. You don't quite know whether a couple, 3 more years would have been just exquisite or utterly devastating. So I think it comes down to a certain level of experience, sure, but experience built on decades of trial, trial with occasional
maybe
errors.
knowing what others have tasted like at that stage.
Yes,
and how
that's
that
experience, yeah.
wound up doing when it matured would be the thing. I just want to point out, occasionally we get critiques from people that say, you never deal with anything like, really serious about beverages or cigars in the first segment. So today's first segment was designed to dispel all of that. And
great.
Crushed that one.
Dan was the perfect guy. But we do have to we do have to get on to some tomfoolery. And so with that in mind, I think it's time, Terry, that we sample today's beverage of mystery.
The beverage of mystery.
Now, Dan is on Zoom from Glenmorangie HQ in Omaha, Nebraska, and we are unable to...
Congratulations, Dan. I can tell on the nose that good for you for not being in this room right now and having to try whatever we're about to try.
The beverage of
I
mystery.
see.
The beverage of mystery is where one of us will bring in a liquid of some sort. We will
and I
try
got
it
the big pour of this
sight
one
unseen. We
today.
give Terry the big pour because he's the most likely to like the beverage of mystery
I don't know
on
about
any
this
given
today.
show.
See?
This, it's like a couple layers of nose on this.
Yeah,
The top
gross
When you
layer
say
of
nose, do you mean nose or nose?
No.
Grosser?
Like at first when you approach it, it has almost a friendly lemon lime
Nope.
kind of thing, and then like underneath that is a dark something not good.
Like
lurking.
you sprayed the lemon lime in the bathroom after you farted or
Oh,
something.
This is
right.
It's not, I don't know.
This is
It's
No,
like
it's
not.
lighting
It is
the
the world's-
Christmas candle in the bathroom.
Yeah,
It's just a crappy
it's
Christmas
not-
tree.
that's honestly the worst lemon pledge smell ever.
I don't
is-
even know. I wouldn't even. I would hope that my lemon pledge would smell better than that. That's that's something you got from the
Oh,
dollar
God.
store to save money
Okay.
on the lemon
Oh,
pledge.
okay, now I get what it is.
Yeah, what is it?
It's skunky tasting.
I'm gonna quote a famous Jordan Peele movie. in my response to this, nope.
Nope.
That's a no.
This is
Okay.
disgusting.
Yeah, it's really bad.
This might be one of the worst ones we've had.
We've had some bad beverages, mystery, like almost every week. But occasionally we have a good one. But this one ranks near the very bottom of the ones we've tried. It's just I don't even know how to describe it. It's trying to be lemon lime, but there's the carcinosweet taste, but there's something else in there that's just not good.
It's skunky. This is like a THC thing, right?
Oh.
Because if it's not, they managed to make it like one of the skunkiest
I don't know. I don't
tasting
even
things.
think it's the. I was gonna say I
I
don't know
don't
that it's
think
a
it
THC
is.
Is that
thing
a
even.
beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
I'm just happy because Dan's on the show. But this is a passion tree guava hard seltzer with 5.5% alcohol by volume.
That was
Well, at least
guava
at least it leaves your mouth awkwardly dry and
Yes.
But it says on the can here, and I know you guys will appreciate this, lightly carbonated. So,
Okay.
Ian, is there any exploration
See,
you
it's
want to
very
do
small.
on that?
There's not much of it, so you don't have to drink much of it.
It's just really not good.
Awful.
Now, in fairness, Ian was supposed to bring the beverage of mystery today, and he forgot it. And I stuck this one in my bag as just like a backup. So this is the backup beverage of mystery today.
I see. Well, I was a bit fear of missing out.
Yeah. Little FOMO went away real
And
quick.
now,
no,
now
you're going to be
now I'm
glad you
not.
missed this one.
FOMO, NOMO.
FOMO,
We can maybe send you one.
FOMO,
Well done.
nope. We will be trying, though, some what I'm expecting to be wonderful beverages from
I hope
Glenmorangie.
I hope it's an improvement. over what
I
we
am
have.
I am intimately familiar with at least one of these vintages, and I
Great.
recognize the bright orange box. Thank you, Terry. I think that was
Oh,
your
yes,
gift
that's
to me
right.
for
Yes.
Christmas one year.
That is, yes,
And-
because I keep that on hand.
and there's
That
still
is.
a little bit of it left.
That's how
I'm
mine
actually
is. It's
familiar
just
with
a
most
little-
of these.
A little bit of it left. So we'll be trying those, and in addition to that, we'll be trying some beers today. And Dan, you won't be able to join us for this, but we'll let you chime in anyway.
Excellent.
Sight unseen. From Denver, Colorado, and Tivoli Brewing, we'll be trying their Outlaw Light. It's a Kolsch-Style light lager. And so,
All right.
meant to, I guess, do battle with the macro brews, the Miller Lights and the Bud Lights.
Kolsch's have been very popular. Kolsch's and lagers in general
Absolutely.
have been very popular lately.
From right here in our hometown of Houston and St. Arnold Brewing Company, which we regularly pray at the altar of because their beers are so freaking good. We'll be trying a new IPA they've released called Juice Train. So I'll let you
Ooh, I hadn't
figure
tried
that
that.
out. Yeah, so that should be interesting. And finally, from Milstadt, Illinois, and Millpond Brewing,
We've had some of their stuff.
an Imperial Stout called Tempered. And it comes in one
Okay.
of those dark bottles, so we're very excited. And I'm hoping this is something that will marry nicely with one of the Glenmorangie expressions,
yes,
or with all of them. So we also will be bringing you the most popular segments on the program, or the one most popular segment, which is Drinking News. We do that in the second hour of the show. Drinking News is where we bring you a story from the news that is sometimes but not always about drinking, but always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And today's Drinking News teaser headline for the show is Inflation is bad. But if you're a young man, you may be dealing with serious deflation. And we'll bring you the Drunken Fact probably in our next segment. The Drunken Fact is where we bring you something that we know to be true because we found it on the internet, and it's one of those things you can drop like a little bit of knowledge. The next party you're at, people are drinking, enjoying themselves, and you drop this on them, and they're like, "Wow, that dude knows things." Our Drinking News teaser headline for today is: Do Kermie or do not. There is no try.
Okay.
So we'll get to all of that coming up, but we got to take a break before we get into that. And some delicious Glenmorangie spirits next. It's Smoking and Toasting.
That can be better now.
Come on. Oh, nicely done. Yeah. Although, I have to say, Roberto on last week's show was the absolute kingpin of the cork pop.
Yes.
He did some last week that I really think we should just go back in the show, isolate those, and play them as sound effects. Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
think that's good. So while Ian's pouring the 12, let's do the drunken fact. Terry, give us our intro.
All right, I've got to change the music real quick. And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drunken fact.
And we'll continue to tell you the only reason we keep doing this segment is because of that fanfare. It's just one of our favorite
It's
things
grandiose,
in
sir.
the world. So you guys are probably familiar with the fact that the voice of Bart Simpson on The Simpsons is voiced by a female voice actor named, I believe her name is Maggie Cartwright. Is that right? Nancy Cartwright.
Nancy Cartwright.
Nancy Cartwright,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And she's very good. And I saw an article recently about her talking about the weirdest places that people had asked her to do the Bart Simpson voice, which is,
Yes.
look that up
Yeah.
on the internet. You'll
Yeah.
enjoy that article.
Yes.
It's
I
pretty
saw that
funny.
too.
But what I did not know until I was doing research for this segment, The Drunken Fact, and this will make you sound like you absolutely are spot on at knowing things at your next drunken party. The same voice actor supplies the voice for both Yoda and Miss Piggy.
Yeah, I knew that.
You knew that?
Of course I knew that.
Yeah.
Of course he
And
knew that.
and he
Of course
and
Terry would know.
Do you want me to add something to
Sure,
that? He
always.
is the same person that let John Belushi out of jail in the Blues Brothers and Dan Aykroyd out of jail in Trading Places.
Okay, I'm resigning the show now because Terry is clearly...
Just so you know, that's
This
another
is the
thing.
Terry
he
and
plays.
Dan show.
Yeah, it's the Terry and Dan show. Now, the crotchety green guru and the pink piggy diva were both voiced at times by Frank Oz,
Yes.
the
Yeah, the
Muppet
Frank Oz.
guy.
That is right.
Yes.
And I will take any opportunity to talk about what I vaguely remember, but a few people have assured me actually happened in the first season of Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Frank Oz did this skit where there were these dope-smoking
Yes.
stoner
Yes.
Muppets.
Yes, they were like, it was like the king, and he had his girlfriend, and then his wife would show
It was
up. and
brilliant.
Cred was his name, I think it was, and he had his little.
Wow.
It was about the first 6 months, and ultimately they famously didn't. The writers and Jim, they didn't want to write for cloth. So it was kind of Michael O'Donoghue didn't like
Yeah.
that, but man, he really made an adult version of, Muppets.
Well, his whole point was that Muppets weren't just for kids; they were
Yes.
for adults too.
Yes.
And thank you for
Right.
joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 479 of The Terry Show.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're going to call it from now on. That's just
can't
too much encyclopedic knowledge of
You
things
Yes.
pop
like
up,
that.
That's just easy stuff right
Ah,
there.
man, Terry, we are
Impressive.
all very impressed. Now, I'd like to be, and I'm sure I will be impressed by our first spirit here because Ian has poured it from a bottle, which I will admit is quite familiar to me. This is the Glenmorangie 12, but I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything about how it tastes and just kind of sample
Sounds
it here.
good.
Is this your best-selling expression, Dan? I know it's
Yeah.
economically it's one of the more affordable ones, but it's just so good for the money.
I think it is. I think it represents a really strong value in the category, and yeah, it is. It is not far and away, but it is by a good lead our number one selling SKU in the range.
Ian, you're good at describing these things. What kind of flavors do you pick up from this?
It's good.
Thank you.
So,
whiskey good.
Okay, so this one's so approachable. It's fruity. Mm-hmm. It's got some creaminess to it. It's got. I mean, Dan's gonna crush me on all of this talking about it, but this is such an approachable, wonderful whiskey. It has a little bit of a whiskey hug that comes in a little late and lingers friendly like.
I absolutely love the minerality on the finish.
The
It's
mineral
just
water finish
wonderful.
is absolutely fantastic. The aftertaste leaves you with just a little bit of that mineral water bitter, just making you want another sip. It's unbelievable. And the things it does with a couple drops of water or a small cube of ice are fantastic as well.
Dan, we've got about a minute and a half left in this segment, and I want to turn all of that time over to you because you will describe this so much better than we can. Tell me about what you experience in the flavor profile of the Glenmorangie 12.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up creamy because when this was back when it was a 10-year-old expression, it was a little more bright, a little more fruit forward, a little more tangerine and mandarin. as a lead. Now those items are still there, but they share a stage with a sort of a warming toasted coconut and a creamy vanilla set of references,
Love that.
along with this new sort of entrant that I think is a sort of a very thin layer of like a fudge brownie, which surprises me a little bit. There's a tiny bit of dark cocoa in there that I'm not quite sure why or where it came from. I think it's just a little more time in cask that has rendered that out. But to your point, there's with the 12, I feel like there's an added palate depth, an added palate weight, a creamy mouth-feeling viscosity to it. That when this was a 10-year-old, it was just a little more ethereal and bright and fruit-forward.
What's the retail on a bottle like this right now?
We're looking these days at about 42 to 45, depending on where you are.
I would challenge you to find anything at that price point that would compete with this.
There's
Seriously,
complexity.
this is amazingly complex. But it's approachable, like you said. It's a really good Scotch for people who, you got a friend who wants to try Scotch but doesn't really know that much about it. This is a wonderful on-ramp. It's just absolutely beautiful. And it's an on-ramp you'll continue to take even when you've got, older bottles, older expressions in your bar. You'll still come back to this and enjoy it on a regular basis. Speaking from my own
I cite
personal.
it as what brought me into the Scotch realm.
This is one of
Yes.
Terry's absolute favorites.
Absolutely.
All right, we got to take a break. We're going to be back. We have more Glenmorangie to taste, and our first beer, the Outlaw Light from Tivoli Brewing, is next. It's Smoking and Toasted. I'm kind of like Pavlov's dog to that particular sound. Whenever I hear it, I'm just like, oh, yeah. It's like when they ring the dinner bell, and the dogs come running. That's me. I'm running. Dan, we were talking a little bit during the break, and I wanted to revisit it because you mentioned that you guys are not bottling the Glenmorangie 10, the original Glenmorangie expression anymore. It's kind of being phased out in favor of the 12. But you recently had an opportunity to taste them side by side.
I did, yeah, and part of the premise of it was that although you see these ancient distilleries and ancient brands in Scotland, the bulk of them are in a state of slow evolution. Each one, because of just the passage of time and changing of leadership and the changing of things within the industry itself. Each one of them is in a state of evolution. So we had an opportunity recently with a small group of people at a whiskey event to taste through original 10-year and original 12-year side by side, and it was the premise was, first of all, and I didn't tell them what they had in front of them until the end. The premise was to give people more confidence in their palates and to give them a sense of I can't pick up these differences.
Right.
I have the acuity to pick these things up. And the second was to reinforce this idea that there's nothing fixed, even as ancient as a category as single malt Scotch whiskey is. There's no fixed point. There's always a slow, purposeful evolution.
It's that old saying, art's never finished; it merely stops in an interesting place.
Right.
Oh, I like that. I had not heard that before. I like that a lot.
That's an old saying,
Yep.
and I love that saying.
Well, this is
Exactly.
the 12 is just clearly. I feel like it's the place setter for everything that Glenmorangie does that's older, and for everything that any other Scotch whiskeys want to show in comparison. In other words, if you can't make something this good, keep trying.
I love the fact that for years and years, most Scotch whiskeys would start with their 12 as their youngest expression and go up. And Glenmorangie had that 10 that was absolutely exquisite for years. Now, I will say the 12's a little more complex. It's definitely got more stuff going on. But it's interesting because it's enough like that 10 that I don't actually miss the 10 to the same degree. Like, it's you guys managed to sneak the 12 in there. And make me wonder if I was buying the 10 back then or the 12,
Oh, those sneaky whiskey guys from Glenmorangie.
The hope was that we didn't lose the essence of the Glenmorangie house style, and I think Bill has done, our master distiller, Dr. Bill Lumsden, has done an extraordinary job preserving the soul of Glenmorangie in a state of this slow, purposeful evolution we talked about.
When we move on to the 15 in a few minutes, is this the same mash bill as the 12, just aged longer, or are there other differences?
There is a secondary maturation situation happening there with both the Lasanta and the Nectar that you've got in front of you, and the Quinta Rubon there in the green, where we'll take what is essentially what you just had, and instead of bottling it, we'll re-rack it into secondary cast types, and those cast types shift based on the expression that you.
Well, I will tell you, this one right
sense,
here that
yeah.
I'm holding in my hand is one that is on my shelf.
Which one is that? The Quinta Rubon?
Always the Lasanta.
Oh, the Santa. Yeah.
This is exquisite.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I'm a fan of that as well. I have an almost empty bottle of that in my bar.
I
as well.
have friends that will call me once in a while with a little intrepidation, like, I want to buy a nice Scotch, and I know it's going to be expensive. I'm like, buy this, and then they'll call me back. It wasn't even that expensive. I'm like, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, don't share that word. Yeah, yeah,
because it's amazing.
yeah. In fact, we may as well go ahead and say it's overpriced, just because we don't want.
safety's sake.
Good.
You know,
Good.
we made this mistake with Oliva Cigars. We had reps from Oliva on the show a couple of times, and said, I have no idea how you guys make this good a cigar for that little of a price, and I'll be damned if the price didn't go up. So, so what we want to say is that's definitely the Lasanta. Definitely a little overpriced.
It
That's all
also
I'm saying.
helps moving to the 12. So it
Offensive.
also helps that you kept it in the same price category.
Oh yeah, big time.
We've tried to be very disciplined in that regard, and you
I
guys
love
know
it.
what's happened over the course of the last
Well,
few
yeah, and
years with the
everything's more
category.
expensive now. But all that being said, it's still in the same price category that it was, and that, I think that also aids in the slipping it in and making me second guess if I was having 10 before.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Exactly. Ian, I'm going to ask you about the cigar that you had to smoke this week, but first I thought we should sample this beer, and I'm looking at your cup and realizing you already have.
My friend, I have been not sampling the beer. I have been studying it.
It's research, in other words.
Yes.
We are kind of pouring into a bottle, or a can rather, of Outlaw Light, which on its surface, and I just want you to look, if you can see the print there, it kind of looks like
Exactly like.
what is that really super cheap beer that
Oh, the Bud Light.
well, yeah, that too, but like just the font here reminds me of one of those
Yeah.
even cheaper beers like the kind I used to buy when I lived in LA and I was absolutely broke all the time, and I would buy this horrible light beer because it was so cheap, and I'm trying to think of the name.
Natural
It was
Light.
no, it was not Stone, but it was like I can't remember it now, but it's awful. Anyway, this is not awful. This is actually quite tasty. What's your take on this, Ian?
This is nice. It's light. It's full flavored. Like, as far as when you make something light and you still have flavor in it, that's pretty amazing.
We call that the anti-ultra effect. The anti-Michelob Ultra effect.
It doesn't taste like watered down. It actually tastes like a beer. You have that nice light. It's a very classic. It's a little bit of a generic beer flavor.
Yeah.
But it's a very classic kind of.
So this would
beer
be
flavor.
a perfect thing to offer someone who comes over and says, do you have a Bud Light or a Miller Lite? And you go, no, but I have this. Try this. I think that this would be a very easy step for them to something more full flavored, but still in their palate's range of acceptability. So I would recommend this very highly. This is really. Have we had Tivoli beers on the show before? Do you remember?
I don't
I don't think
I
we
don't
have.
remember that one at all.
Yeah, well, this one is absolutely exceptional, and I understand that not only are you enjoying this, but you've also had the opportunity to smoke something interesting this week.
I did, and I'm glad you said that right when you did, because I just found it.
I was stalling for as long as I could.
I had lost it on my phone.
I was
and
about to
finally
turn
got
the
it.
rest of the segment over to Dan to just talk about whiskey, because that would be probably, no offense, but probably more interesting than your cigar review. But
like a month ago, I went and smoked a Serie O by Oliva, and just remembered how much I liked those.
I remembered you talking
and
about
I
that. Yeah.
and I smoked the V's so often in all their different variations of the V's that I said, you know what, I have a Serie G in here I'm going to smoke.
Okay.
And I hadn't smoked a Serie G in a long time, so I wanted to kind of revisit the flavors. This was a 5x52 Bellicoso box pressed. I think all the G's are box pressed. Dark brown wrapper, mostly smooth, oily, severely box pressed. I mean, it's like a square.
Wow.
Right. It's got sharp corners on it, everything, and it's a torpedo on the end. Pre-light sniff. I got rich earth and fermented hay, coffee, touch of burnt wood, like you get from a match a little bit, like a little pine wood.
Not the sulfur smell.
Not
but
the sulfury smell.
Once
Right,
that smell
right.
is burned away and you just have the
The
wood.
pre-light draw, I used a clip. It had a very light draw, sweet cappuccino, earth, some baking chocolate, pleasant spices, the initial light, tangy leather and wood, backed by spicy pepper, retrohales, wooden spices. I actually expected the initial light on this to be bigger than it was. And it came in actually kind of gentle, like gentle and tangy and interesting. Now, it got bigger as I went along, but it didn't come in with any kind of blast at all. The first third of this, wood and spices dominate the palate. Wood has cedar and an oaky notes aplenty. Underlying sweetness has a chocolate kind of pastry quality to it. Touches of leather and earth. Retrohale is sweet, a cedar and a hint of honey. Solid ash, good burn. The second third of this comes in. The coffee notes ramps up. Spices remain consistent. Earth and leather come and go kind of playfully in and out. Full flavor profile by this point in time. It's we're outside of medium even. We're dabbing in a full flavor.
Okay.
But it ramps in so gently, like you almost don't notice it. The retrohale is wonderfully woody, solid ash, good burn. The last third of the cigar coming in, tangy leather notes take a bit more space up in the palate. Nutty flavors make an appearance. Spices remain kind of solid throughout. The it picks up a slight mint aftertaste. I could have probably worded that a little better.
A
slight mint aftertaste that blends well with the mostly woody flavors. Underlying sweetness remains pleasant. The retro has wood and spices, solid ash, good burn. This cigar is coming in right about $10. It's $8 to $10 depending on where you get it. And I'm going to give it a 6. It's so good. Like it's so good. It's so solid. It's as good as anything you're going to get by AJ, even at that price, I think.
So it's
pretty outrageous.
So this is an Oliva G.
Yes.
And Ian has given it a 6, which on our price to quality scale is an excellent score because it means a 5 means you get what you pay for. So a 6 means it's punching above its weight class. But I just like to state, because it's an Oliva cigar, I'd like to state that we find it highly overpriced, and we, if any of the Oliva people are listening, boy, they should not ever raise the cost of this cigar because just because it's a 6, doesn't mean.
I mean, everything's gotten expensive. Though.
Yeah,
You remember,
but
literally
that's a great
5
cigar,
years
though.
ago, you could buy most of these cigars for $3, $4 less.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Everything's
like that,
everything's gotten so much more expensive. How has the rising cost of things? How does it impact a company like Glenmorangie? I mean, you guys are as solid as it gets in the Scotch whiskey space, and you've got expressions that are less expensive, and then you've got things that are more expensive going all the way up in aging and that are quite terrific. But how have you guys dealt with the price increases of everything from your raw materials to shipping to all of that? How have you? Is there a strategy at a company like Glenmorangie for how to try not to let things escalate too much price wise?
Yeah, I think what we've tried to do, and the P&L statements are reflective of this. We've tried to remain disciplined in terms of pricing and pricing structure for the range, despite the discernible impact on the P&L statement. It's an existential thing at this point because I think where the category is, brown spirits isn't at the healthiest point it's been in history. So what we've tried to make sure that we're doing is to look at the long picture, to continue to build an audience that that is built on a sense of trust, sense of perceived value, a sense of price to quality ratio. With acknowledging full well that it is not as profitable to be us as it has been in the past, and we hope to return to that level of profitability at some point in the future. But we need to maintain price discipline seriously at this point.
I think that's just so commendable. I really do, because so many products, brands, use the fact that everybody knows that costs are going up because of tariffs and whatever, and they kind of use it to sneak in more profitability instead of just adjusting for what the additional costs are for manufacturing and shipping. They actually sneak in a little extra profit in there because they go, well, people understand stuff's going to go up, and so
they're already paying this extra dollar. You might as well pay that extra dollar.
Right. Does anybody know what the current tariffs are from Scotland?
I've lost track.
Yeah, I have too. I've completely lost all sense of what's going on.
Right, and what we've tried to do throughout is to eat as much of that as possible, and continue to represent ourselves in a price tier that our consumers are used to seeing us at. So, and to your collective point about Glenmorangie behaving in such a way that it's a doorway into the category for many people, that we take that responsibility very seriously.
Yeah.
And when we see press, there was just a thing that came out online. An online publication that put out, the third, according to bartenders, the 13 best single malts, blah blah blah, or the 13 best whiskeys, and somebody, a fellow that I haven't met in Washington D.C., included in Glenmorangie the original, the 12-year, and it was another one of those road markers to me that we're still doing the important work of advocacy, recruitment.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, Ian has already poured for us the next expression, which this is the 15, is that right?
This is, yes, the La Santa.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me take a look at this bottle.
Yeah, there you go. There's a little bottle.
There we go. This is the 15, and it is Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, and it's a small bottle.
This is
They're
the
exactly
sherry
the same
cask
as the big
finish.
bottle, but just the tiny version.
So you might want to pour yourself some of that, Dan, if you have not.
I just did.
All right. I love that he plays along at home. This is This is a wonderful
Play
thing.
along with the home game.
Can I? This now, you guys came out with this extra maturation series almost. There were 3 that came out close to the same time, and it was the La Santa, the Nectar d'Or.
Yep.
Okay, and then the King de Ruban.
Yeah. Those were all launched in 2007.
Yeah, and I have been such a big fan ever since then, and especially this La Santa has been amazing.
We have to take a break, but when we come back, I got to talk about how amazing this is. This is
good,
one of my absolute favorites in the Glenmorangie line. So we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 479, and Dan Crowell is our special guest from Glenmorangie, and we are always thrilled to have Dan on, not just because he's a fun guy to drink with, but also because his palate and his knowledge of how to express that
eloquence
is as good or better than as anyone I've ever met, and we've met a few people. So it's. I also like to point out, because I think some questions are coming in the emails and stuff about my hands, because they look a little funky here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, Terry.
Right.
Yeah, my doctor calls it Trump hand, and what it is basically testament to is me losing a fight with my giant aloe vera plant that's on the. So I was trying to remove, because it had these little babies sprouting up that was kind of choking it out. So I was trying to remove it, and it did not like this.
I thought aloe vera plants were supposed to help you.
Yeah.
Well, they are, and in fact, once you break them when you're trying to pull, the babies out, then you can just smear it on your hand. It starts to heal very quickly.
You were trying to take away its babies.
I've sent some to Washington, so we'll see. We'll see how that all works out. Before the break, Ian poured us the La Santa, and this is this your favorite Glenmorangie expression?
I'm going to go ahead and tell you this.
Okay.
When my friends ask, they're like, if I want a Scotch on the shelf, if you only have one Scotch on your shelf, this is what I recommend.
I will admit, I'm not the world's hugest sherry fan. I enjoy a little bit from time to time, but there's something about the sherry cask aging on this whiskey that just works. So don't if you're not a big sherry person, don't let that scare you away from this in any way, shape, or form.
Buttery. It's slightly spicy. It's absolutely delicious. It's also got. There's a little bit of a roundness to the flavor that you don't get in a lot of Scotch. It's almost a bourbony kind of flavor to it, right up at the very beginning of the palate that you just
with
don't
a little
expect.
more of that sweetness.
Yeah, and it is quite sweet. This is such an easy to drink straight out of the bottle, easy with a chip of ice, easy with a couple drips of water, and the price point is outrageous.
In a good way.
It's like $50 something to $60.
Is that right,
places.
Dan?
It's about right.
What
the
the
change to
heck?
15. Yeah, there might be a little bit of a raise there, but not much.
Right.
Not much.
But this is an absolute exquisite whiskey, and I 100% recommend if you have one bottle of Scotch on your shelf, just to have that category. This, buddy.
Dan, that's quite an endorsement if you think about it. And
It is.
This is coming from a guy who has a lot of bottles of whiskey on his shelf. Okay.
Yeah, we're first of all honored to be put in that position. And to your point about your collective point about sherry influence in whiskey, can be particularly there are certain single malt styles that lean very heavily on full maturation in Oloroso sherry, and that's great. And they construct their new make in order to stand. There's a robustness in this. And
Right. You need a little something that can
gotta
have
handle
that.
That's Macallan does
Yes.
that. Right.
Yeah, which is great, and they've have a long and rich history of doing so. Sometimes for me, sherried whiskeys can blur the line between, geez, I could have sworn that I picked up a bottle of whiskey. If I was in the mood to drink sherry, I have those too. I would just
Right.
go drink a sherry. I would rather not have my whiskey sort of buried in sherry notes. And so one of the things that we try to do with Milstadt is to capitalize on those things that are really favorable that come from ex-Oloroso cask, but to not let them redefine who we are,
as
to make
usual.
them live together.
As usual, he has described it so perfectly. All I was saying was, I'm not huge on sherry, but this one works. And he just explained why.
This has
He just
such like the
explained why.
nose on this. The nose on this is almost savory, but it's fruity at the same time.
Yes.
It's got like some rich complexity to it that takes a while to even try to pick apart, and then it's just so buttery, smooth on top of that. It's a interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, I would just say this strikes me as the perfect sipping whiskey. Once you factor in what it costs and but this is one, if you're going to start your evening and you're just going to kind of lightly sip whiskey all evening, but you're not going to be like guzzling it or throwing it back. This to
Right.
me is a perfect candidate for that, because you'll get to continue to enjoy that, wonderful maturity that it has, and the sense that it has balanced these sherry notes absolutely perfectly. And that's what I love.
It is slightly different since you moved it to the 15, right? Because
Yes,
it
yes.
seems like this is a little bit spicier than it used to be. Right
Okay.
off the bat, and also just the minerality at the finish is a lot bigger. The sherry still seems very, very similar, but doesn't linger quite as long. It gets more of the mineral kind of aftertaste.
Yeah. Ian, I don't know if we had the
Well
camera
done.
on him at that time, but he basically gave you a fist bump when you were explaining that.
That was spot on, and we haven't necessarily been super clear about what the difference, what the tactile difference, and what the technical difference is between when we moved from the 12 to the 15. But we used to be from 2017 to 2025. Lasanta was finished in a combination of Oloroso and PX sherry casks.
Right.
This goes back to the 15, goes back to just Oloroso. So the things you've just perceived quite astutely is where what the PX used to plug in terms of a lingering dried fruit center palate, almost sticky sweetness. It isn't there anymore.
Right.
It gives you an opportunity to perceive that the back end minerality, that slightly drying sort of spice wave It's a little bit not cleaner so much, but it's a little more. Oloroso is fermented dry, and PX isn't. So you've got those two. We used to have the two sort of not competing, but two
working together,
very different sherry
Right.
worlds. And now with just the Oloroso, I think it reveals. I think it's a little more revelatory. It isn't as. It's not as bombastic on the palate. I think it has. Markedly more significant nuances from mid palate through finish.
Dan, would you mind pointing out something Ian maybe got wrong in his assessment? Because after your strong endorsement of him, I'm really worried he's going to start asking for raises and stuff. So, is there anything he missed there?
Not that I have picked up on just yet. In subsequent readings, I'll text you what I picked up on. But yeah, this was another one in the seminar the other night. We had them taste the 12 and the 15 together, just to give a sense of whether they could pick up the differences on the palate and how each of them made them feel. And then, as a tertiary kind of a hope in my head, did we still maintain something Glenmorangie about them?
And absolutely,
I want to talk about that when we come back.
Absolutely, you did. Yes, we have to take a break. Hour 2 is on the way, which means, unfortunately, drinking news is getting closer and closer. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toast. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and all sound effects on the show, with the exception of our fanfare for the Drunken Fact, are actually created organically right here in the studio, and Ian does a great job, although I'm starting to enjoy now the shows where Roberto comes on, because Roberto is great at making these sound effects.
I'm
starting
to feel like you're holding my talent back.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to feel like maybe it should be the Cruz and Roberto show, is what I'm starting to feel. So, just so you know. Welcome.
Well, I mean, if you feel that way. No.
Cruz and Roberto, Fantasy Hour.
No, here's the thing, Ian. If you quit, the whiskey, you're cut off from the whiskey now.
So, all right. I'm sticking around for Dan's sake.
At least to the end of the show, for Dan's sake. Dan Crowell from Glenmorangie is on the program with us. Dan, we are so thrilled to have you on. We always enjoy having you on because you, I think, singularly among our guests, you have a way of expressing what you're tasting, what your palate is picking up, in a way that just, I don't know, it's just so wonderful to listen to, and it makes me go, ooh, I should try to see if I'm getting any of that. And I love that. And a lot of people have asked me in various situations, like, well, how do you learn to pick out the flavors and the notes, whether it's cigars or whiskey or whatever it might be? And my answer is listen to or read someone that knows, somebody that's good at this. And if they say, okay, in this particular, in the La Santa, I was getting this note and that note, and then taste it yourself and see if you can discern those. And if you can, it'll teach you more and more. You know, when I first started smoking cigars, I was just like, wow, I really enjoy this tobacco. And as I would read reviews of different cigars and stuff, I go, oh, yeah, I kind of get that. There is an earthy
What
vibe to
it
that.
really boils down to is experiencing something while reading someone else's experience tends to open up your experience substantially.
Or listening
to
Dan on the show, which is one of the reasons we love having him on, because the way he expresses what he's getting in these things is wonderful. And also just the look of sheer joy on his face when he's drinking this is also kind of infectious. So I absolutely love it. Ian, I think my cup is leaking a little bit here, so we should go to the beer before I lose mine.
My cup's also leaking. And we had a bad run of cups.
Yeah, we really did. I don't know what happened. But tell me about what you're getting. This is St. Arnold's newest IPA, or newest to me anyway.
So this is
the Juice Train.
Okay,
IPA.
so this is very similar to their Art Car. However, this is juicier. This is fruitier than the Art Car, but I think it's in the same palate space.
It's sort of like if they did a hazy Art Car.
Right.
It's kind of what it tastes like. I really love this. This is, to me, this is what a juicy IPA should taste like. It's kind of a standard setter for that. And I don't know if this is a temporary thing or a permanent addition to their line, but just seeing a demented Thomas the Tank Engine on the can is enough to make me hope that this is a regular that we can find from now on, because I love that. I think I said earlier, it's kind of like Thomas the Tank Engine meets R. Crumb. It's just that kind of beautiful. I think this is wonderful. This may be one of the better IPAs we've had in a while.
One of the things about this, though, is it has a much bigger mouthfeel than the other beer we were talking about, than the Art Car as well. Like it's you can actually see kind of the viscosity in this,
and it's got a little toastiness to it in addition to the fruit. It's just. I think it's just wonderfully balanced. You know what I love about St. Arnold? When the IPA craze hit, they didn't respond. They already had a really good IPA with Alyssa, and they released one more, which was Art Car, which became their flagship beverage at St. Arnold.
Yeah.
But they didn't just start releasing a new IPA like every other month like so many breweries did. But what they've done kind of subsequently, after all the IPA craze has subsided a little, is they've released some extremely solid, great IPAs.
I think that they really, really care about balance.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would agree with that. And that's why their IPAs are so good.
That's why
going all the way back to Alyssa.
I can go to any of their IPAs and be happy, be fine with it. You know.
And you're not the IPA guy.
Not really.
Yeah.
I get burnt out on them real fast, and I get annoyed when I go into a a brewery and I have to sift past 14 IPAs to find one something that's a little bit malty.
Yeah, I call that a happy experience.
Yeah,
because I enjoyed the sifting through the IPAs, as he put it. That's something that's in my personal repertoire. But this is good. This is St. Arnold's Juice Train IPA. If you are anywhere in the state of Texas or anywhere St. Arnold might be available out of it, I recommend highly that you try
drinkable.
it. If you're an IPA,
on the Juice Train.
Yeah, if you're an IPA lover, exactly. And again, the demented Thomas the Tank Engine, that's worth the price of the can all by itself. We are thrilled to have Dan Crowell from Glenmorangie on the show. We appreciate his palate. We appreciate the whiskeys that his company distills. And now we are into, which one is this again, Ian? Remind me?
Quinta Raban.
Oh, Quinta Raban. See, I will tell you the La Santa is my favorite until we sample the Quinta Raban, and then I'll probably change up. Just so you know, I'm very fluid like that. You know, so
I like it.
Can I start this one off with what I'm thinking, and then you can crush me with your awesomeness?
Let's go.
So right off the bat, this has a buttery note that is just outrageous. It coats the mouth in a beautiful way. It's got a very dry wine kind of feel to it, like right after you take a sip. It finishes with a very dark cherry pit, slight bitterness to it.
Yes, a wonderful
and a ton of wood right after that. Like that's my initial thoughts on this one.
I just want to say, I know the word smooth is a word that whiskey guys hate, but there is a smoothness to this that will allow someone who's maybe a little bit cautious about drinking, more established whiskeys. This one is just so accessible.
Look at how that sticks to the glass, too.
All right, Dan.
Right.
School us.
Okay, so what you've got going on in the glass there, and what you've just both referred to in terms of palate weight, clinginess to the glass, now we're working with 46 ABV whiskey that's not chill filtered. So anything that we do at Glenmorangie that is at least 46 ABV is also non-chill filtered. The things that are under 46 are chill filtered in a relatively gentle way, which we can debate for months and months and months and still not make everybody happy. But to your point,
the bottom line is that La Santa at 43%. I'm assuming it's chill filtered and is freaking delicious.
Yeah.
So
right.
So what? Tell us, Dan. Chill filtering. What does that do to the whiskey?
There will be a natural amount of fatty acid content in any whiskey, and fatty acids are the precursors to fats. Simple fatty acid structures, in many cases, get drawn up into longer lipid chains that create things that you would refer to as maybe esters, fermentation-based or fermentation-driven flavors. Now, the ones that don't, they're sort of the wallflowers of lipiddom, are still in solution.
By the way,
but they're not.
They had a great debut album, The
The
Wallflowers,
wallflowers
of
of lipiddom.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can I,
it's
can I
awesome.
make a
great record.
Can I make a quick translation for the general public? When you take a couple drops of water and you have something that's non-chill filtered and has all this, and you take a couple drops of water and you put it in there, you can actually watch
Yep.
the oils moving around like that, the
Yep.
lipids, if you will, moving around. Also, with a small chip of ice, you can see it. It
Absolutely.
You don't even have to move the glass; you'll see it start moving around, and it's just an interesting thing that you can visually see that.
Exactly, and the haze, the accompanying
Yes,
haze
there's a
that
haze.
tends to show up, particularly the longer that a whiskey sits either at a cold or dilute or both state, is why chill filtration happens. So lipids behave differently depending on the potency of the solution that they find themselves in, and 46 is that number. Before any liquid with potency of at least 46 ABV, the lipids' tendency to cluster is drastically reduced. But once it gets below 46, the way that the lipids behave in an alcohol water solution of under 46 ABV, they tend to start to form
And that can
what are
make the
called
liquid
micelles, or clusters,
hazy.
which makes the liquid hazy.
Why
Yes.
couldn't we have had this discussion in, science class in high school? This would have been
Exactly.
so
It
interesting.
would have made lipids far more interesting.
Right.
Applied science. This is all just applied
Because
science.
it really
Yeah.
is. It's chemistry and applied science, and
Yes,
it's
exactly.
It's so much more
has
interesting than
almost
the
a-
crap they taught me in high
This
school.
is almost a graham
Exactly.
cracker on the nose, by the
Oh,
way.
it totally is, and you get a little bit of that on the finish as well. But the minerality and that wonderful butteriness of this is
Yeah.
just so it's so appetizing. It's
Yeah, exactly. This is a really good whiskey for eating, like cheese strays and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Stone fruits, dried cherries, and dark chocolate and all that kind of stuff.
You got a
It's
charcuterie
perfect
board,
with those things.
and
Yep,
this
that's it.
you are in for a happy evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to run the gamut from sun-dried tomato to provolone. You're going to be all right. I tend to get a decent amount of strawberries and cream on the front to mid palate.
Nice. Yeah.
That then sort of evolves into stone fruits and chocolate and mint and cracked pepper and things
I had
like
to go
that
back
later.
and test that theory, and it's solid.
Oh, the cracked pepper's one I was missing.
Yeah.
That's
I just think that, if you're a person who has been cautious about entering the world of Scotch whiskey, there are so many on-ramps in the Glenmorangie, in their expressions. This would not be a bad whiskey for someone who is not a Scotch aficionado. No. You
Right.
could show them this, and
Right.
it's like, oh wow, there's something here. If somebody's like a bourbon nut but doesn't
Yeah.
go into the Scotch realm as often, this is like an open invitation
I think so too.
to
You
enjoy
could,
what Scotch is all about.
if you were a less than scrupulous bartender who had run out of every bourbon known to mankind, and then everybody showed up and ordered old fashions from you, as an unscrupulous bartender, you could get a nugget of ice, a glass, pour a bunch of Quinta Rubon, and tell them it was an old fashioned, and they wouldn't necessarily recognize instantly that you were lying to their face.
Yeah.
I think that the wood extractive tones combined with the citrus notes and the cherry aspect, to me, kind of feels like Quinta Rubon shows up representing itself as Scotch whiskey's answer to an old fashioned in a bottle.
I met an unscrupulous bartender one time. His name was Roberto. Do you know him?
it's and it's
Friend of the
even in
show.
a price point where
I picture him with the top
this
hat
again,
now,
this
I
is
don't
in
know.
that $50 to $60
Mustache
price
that's
point,
curly.
correct?
Yeah, these days it's typically
Or
65,
65.
68,
Okay,
something
so
like
yeah,
that.
again, it's not so outlandish that the mixing it is something you don't want to think too much about.
Right, you certainly could, and I think that that's the case throughout the Glenmorangie portfolio. And the throwaway term for us is, look, if it doesn't go well, we'll make more. There's no permanent damage
how
done there.
often does that happen? That you distill a batch and it just doesn't quite live up to what the expectations were. How often does something like that happen in the whiskey world?
what you hope is that it's been caught in quality control, and the folks that get paid to preserve the brand's identity and the aesthetics of the whiskeys that we produce, that it wouldn't make it past the finish line of being in a bottle. But occasionally, something will happen that either on a blanket level the public doesn't necessarily connect with, or as a one-off, something must have gone at least slightly left of center for it to stand out in that way. They're typically the exception rather than the rule, but in certain cases, particularly with our some of our limited release items, some of them are polarizing not for the sake of being polarizing. Right. But because, and I always kind of go back to Glenmorangie, A Tale of the Forest, being one of the more polarizing whiskeys we've ever produced.
I didn't try that one. I had a bottle of the Tale of Cake. That was so good.
Tale of Cake, which is a lovely dram. But Forest is out there, and it has its devotees and its detractors, but no one feels blasé about Tale of the Forest. They either love it or they hate it.
There's very few people who don't have an opinion who have tried it.
Yes.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. You are listening to and watching Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our guest is Dan Crowell from Glenmorangie. We'll be right back. Welcome back at Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our guest is Dan Crowell from Glenmorangie. We love his explanations, his palate. We'll get back to more of that in a moment. But I do want to tell you about the cigar that I smoked
I don't mean to crowd the mic for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the Quinta Raban that we just had, and I took a sip of this Medusa Belgian style quadruple after.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I am unable to confirm this because my Santa is gone, and I don't have any of the Medusas. So,
and it turns this into a buttery smooth, almost what's it, powdered sugar.
Oh, hell yeah!
Like a pastry kind of thing. Amazing.
Okay, so I will be trying that after the show. Definitely. The cigar I smoked this week was very interesting and something I could not find a lot of information about online. It was the CB Jackson Cohiba Black Robusto Tubo. So let's get a few things out of the way. I'm all about letting cigar companies describe their smokes in any way they want to, but guys, this is not a Robusto. As you can see in the photo here, this is a 5x54 ring gauge, which in my book is a Toro. I'm not complaining. Just mentioning it. Secondly, the Cohiba in question here
It's just got big bones.
is not a really pretty cigar. The wrapper was kind of lumpy in spots, and to describe it as rustic would be stretching it a little bit in an attempt to justify the uneven surface of this wrapper.
Its mother thinks it's cute.
Yeah. I'll be honest, when I see the name Cohiba, when I see the name Cohiba on a cigar and see the price tag of something like this, I expect to see high-class cigar perfection, not something that looks like I rolled it myself after 2 hours of a cigar-making class. So, CB Jackson is a bourbon company that also works with a number of cigar brands to do special edition bourbon-influenced cigars. They've worked with Punch, with Romeo and Julieta, and in this case, with the Dominican Cohiba brand. It came in a clear clear plastic glass tube, which I'm sure helps keep the bourbon notes marinating in the cigar. The pre-light sniff confirmed instantly for me that this cigar had been whiskey barrel aged. It kind of reminded me of sniffing one of those rum runner, rum dipped cigars, which if that's your thing, go for it, but I've never found those very appealing. And I love rum, so it's not that. Cohiba Black cigars use a dark Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper and an intricate recipe of Dominican and Mexican tobaccos. Add in some bourbon barrel aging, and you've got the CB Jackson Cohiba Black. I lit the cigar up and got an instant dash of the bourbon essence, which was not unpleasant, and the whiskey notes settled down as the cigar began to burn. I got some earth and aged tobacco notes, along with a big dose of leather and a kind of a sweet finish, which I'm attributing to the bourbon. Construction was decent, with the wrapper burning about the way I've come to expect from Connecticut broadleaf. A little crooked, but not a huge problem. Pepper arrived in a big way around the beginning of the second third, with cocoa and more leather on the palate. The strength seemed to kick up a notch from medium to medium full, which I liked. The burn continued its crooked but manageable trajectory. By the final third, the cigar ticked up another notch in strength, and I finally had to tend the burn just a little, but it was no big deal. Leather took over as the dominant note, but there were just enough other notes to keep things interesting. Overall, I'd describe the CB Jackson Cohiba Black Robusto as a good cigar, but not quite a great one. The suggested pairing is pretty obviously a basic bourbon, but I think a nice aged rum would work as well. Finally, there's the price. This particular cigar was a gift, so I had to look the price up online, and frankly, I was a bit shocked at how much my gift giver spent. I was all prepared to give this cigar a 5 rating in price to quality, which would mean you get what you pay for, when I was thinking it was about an $8 stick or maybe even a 10. But the CB Jackson Cohiba Black Robusto clocks in at $18 to $19. So my bottom line here is if someone gives you one of these as a nice gift, it's pretty awesome. But if I had paid $18+ for it, I'm really sorry. It's nowhere
What is that
near
cigar without
worth
being
that
infused?
price.
What is that cigar price?
Say it again. I'm sorry?
Without being infused, what's the cigar price?
I think it's probably around the same.
It's not that far off, right?
Right, right,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure because I know
Maybe
the
a
Cohibas
buck or
tend to
two
be pretty
cheaper. Yeah,
Right.
right. Because the Dominican Cohibas are a pricey cigar. But listen, if I paid $18 for this, I'm sorry, it's not worth anywhere near that price. At $18, price to quality, and I feel bad saying this because it was a very nice gift, but I can't give it much better than a 3.5. There are so many ways to spend $18 on cigars and come away with 2 that are much better, and so that's why it doesn't rank a little higher in my rating. I enjoyed it, but it was a gift and I didn't pay for it, so that made it enjoyable.
If I have a bourbon infused cigar at the house, it's because somebody gave it to me.
I'm so with you on that. These are not something I seek out.
I've tried them. Mm-hmm. And they all don't taste good.
And I love bourbon and I love cigars.
Yes,
but I don't. I don't know that I love bourbon as much as I love.
I don't want Glenmorangie to come out with a cigar infused bourbon.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I love
100%.
those two things together. But
you can match them together.
I don't need my bourbon to taste like cigars or my cigars to taste like bourbon.
And if you want to talk about a spirit that will match up well,
Or you could just pass
with
the
a
whole
cigar.
bottle like you did with the little bottles. I'll just keep the whole bottle of the big bottle, right?
That's what I'm afraid of.
let me just talk to you about this Glenmorangie 16, because to me, the very first sip says, "I want a cigar," in the most wonderful kind of a way.
The nectar.
We'll be back to, this is the nectar. Okay, so we'll be back to talk about what that means. Dan Crowell will school us on the difference between nectar and nectar de oro. Next, it's Smoking and Toasting. Oh, yes. Welcome back, my friends. This is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 479, which means we're about halfway to 500.
That is a really pretty good snare sound with a slightly gated reverb on it.
Yeah. If only the guitar was, in tune. That would
This is where you get poured less, right?
Yeah, okay, this is exactly it. Welcome back, my friends. We are glad to have you here. Speaking of pours, Ian has poured this. This is the nectar, or nectar, as we say here in Texas.
Nectar?
Dan, you guys had a product. I still have some in my bar called Nectar de Oro. Is
true.
this different, or is it the same with a slightly different name?
It's a relative. So Sauterne was the finish cask for what we used to call Nectar d'Or. Sauterne is still involved in the 16, but it has a stablemate of pals that have joined the chase for perfection here.
Maple syrup.
3 other sweet white wines that we can certainly dig into once you've had a
Ian looks
chance
like
to.
he's been transported to another dimension.
Maple syrup. I haven't tried this one, so I haven't tried it
This
since
is
the Nectar
right on.
door.
Since the change, sure.
And so this is the first time I've gotten in this. And I got to be honest, out of the 3, remember that you said you started in 2007, correct?
Right.
Out of those 3, my least favorite was the Nectar d'Or, although still a good whiskey. So don't get me wrong. It just happened to be my least favorite out of the 3 awesome whiskeys.
Sure.
But this is, wow. And there's a little maple syrup
wow,
going on
indeed.
like right off the bat.
So good.
This is a little maple, and there's a little salinity in this that I didn't get in the other ones either. There's interesting things happening, like, and that's way in the back. The retrohale on this almost has a chocolatey thing, although I don't get chocolate on the actual whiskey itself. Like, there's a lot going on here.
So I want to come back and talk about this, but if we don't do drinking news, we'll get hate mail. So let's make sure we have time to get through today's edition of Drinking News.
Hold that thought.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
That's you, dude.
I have to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers,
I may have missed a chord in there.
You might have, but you know you've done this so many times.
I'm so excited about the Glenmorangie.
Yeah, well, I am too, and I'm glad that we're drinking it because drinking news is where we bring you stories from the news that are sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but that are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. That was pretty good. That was Roberto worthy.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm
So
digging.
you notice, like my aim's not that bad, but you have to have the bottle engagement where you sound like
Yes.
you're trying to find it there.
Absolutely.
It adds to the.
Like there's no lights on, and he's just got to do this in the dark.
I'm in the dark, fumbling around with my bottle cap. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. The world's ended, but I
that's the
found
difference.
this beer.
That's the difference between the actual sound and the sound effect.
That's right. Well, Terry will affirm me on this. There was a big hit song back in 1991 by the famous and popular female duo Salt and Pepper.
Oh, yes.
And their DJ Spinderella, which, by the way,
She
is
was
the
hot.
coolest DJ name of all time.
Yes.
Spinderella is number one. Nothing comes even close.
And she was hot.
Anyway, the song was called Let's Talk About Sex. And with today's drinking news stories, that's exactly what we're going
I've
to do.
seen them do that live, by the way.
Oh, how was it?
It was great. I mean,
Right,
it was great. Yeah, it was at the Astro Arena.
I saw the Fat Boys perform live one
Oh,
time.
that's amazing. Do you know how much I would have loved that when they came out?
I was working.
I heard they're back and they can never be whacked.
Yeah.
I was working for a radio station that had the Fat Boys in for one of our, special
So
shows for
amazing.
listeners, and I was the DJ that had to bring them on. So I'm standing on stage in front of the mic. I'm like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Fat Boys!" And here they came, and I could feel the stage thumping beneath my feet.
I just don't want to get in an elevator with those guys.
No, absolutely not.
You cannot get away with calling a band the Fat Boys nowadays.
Yeah, no, you couldn't.
And they made movies,
yeah.
too.
So we're going to talk about sex today. And when it comes to attraction and sex, I've learned that there are a wide variety of likes and even kinks that work for a wide variety of people. Now, I've never really understood the whole furry thing. But, if what turns you on is having your partner dressed up in a mascot costume of some kind, and you can find a person
New
that's
kink
willing to
unlocked.
do that, you do you. Or more accurately,
No.
you do the person dressed up like Steely McBean, the very manly hard hat wearing tough guy
there's a name
mascot
for it
of
when
the Pittsburgh
furries,
Steelers.
When furries couple, there's a name for that. I can't remember what it is.
I don't know if I want to know.
I probably don't.
Yeah.
Don't know.
One quick aside, though. If you find that you are only attracted to someone wearing the mascot costume of the Philly Fanatic from the Philadelphia Phillies baseball team, you should immediately seek professional
That's
help.
a very
because
specific
that
kink.
is the ugliest, most ridiculous looking costume that anyone has ever
But
worn.
fabulous mascot costume.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, fabulous mascot.
It's a very
But
specific
even
kink.
if you're into the furry thing, there are certainly lines that you probably shouldn't cross. Which brings us to our first drinking news story about 36-year-old Shiva Krishna Bera, who is covering all of his, deity basics there with Shiva Krishna. He's a New Jersey man
New Jersey man,
who decided to get frisky with the Easter Bunny.
frisky with the Easter. I
really is covering all
I don't
those
know how to
religious
finish that
spaces.
sentence.
Our Jersey man was in Pittsburgh visiting the South Hills Village Mall when he was arrested for groping a woman in a furry Easter Bunny costume. Traffic at shopping malls has been in decline for a number of years now. So when a mall advertises that you can bring your kids to meet Santa Claus, or in this case, the Easter Bunny, it can help pull in some extra customers as parents bring their children to sit on the Easter Bunny's lap and tell them what they want for Easter. Hold on, I'm getting a note from our editors that tells me the Easter Bunny does not bring kids presents. It just goes into your refrigerator and hides your hard-boiled eggs so your kids can hunt for them. So I'm not sure why you would take your kids to sit on a live human wearing an Easter Bunny costume. But hey, if it gets them to shut the hell up about Pokemon for 5 minutes, it's probably worth it. But our Jersey man...
Or Minecraft.
Our Jersey man, yeah, I was going to say Minecraft. I didn't know.
Roblox.
Roblox.
Roblox
Thank
kids
you.
these days.
Thank you. Yeah, any of the
too.
above.
Yeah.
But our Jersey man took things too far. Bera, the cops say, began questioning the costumed character and their assistant, asking the age-old query, is it a boy or a girl? When he found out that it was, in fact, a female wearing the costume, Bera began touching the costume woman's arms and chest and grabbed her breasts. He also allegedly shoved his fingers into the nose and mouth of the Easter Bunny costume head. Again, different strokes for different folks.
Apparently.
In fairness, it is true that the job posting for the Bunny photo experience claimed that the gig was, quote, ideal for actors, theater students, and performers who enjoy immersive character work and audience engagement, end quote.
That's very immersive.
But I think we can all agree that this
audience.
particular kind of audience engagement was not exactly what the mall or the Bunny performer had in mind.
Right.
The Jersey man, by the way, is now in jail,
Yes.
where the definition of furry is, let's just say, slightly different. Meanwhile, although sex therapists and urologists have long been helping to treat sexual dysfunction, particularly erectile dysfunction, in men over 40, they're now beginning to report an alarming increase in young men with ED. And in fact, all of the experts the New York Post spoke to on the subject agreed. And I just want you to examine that sentence. All of the experts the New York Post spoke
New
to
York Post.
on the subject. But they all agreed
Inquiring
the
minds wanna
ED
know.
affecting many young men can't be traced to anything that would show up in a blood test or a physical exam. So is this phenomenon psychological? What exactly is causing younger men to have such trouble pitching a tent?
Oh, do tell.
What could be affecting their stimulus package in such a way?
What, oh, what, my friend?
Well, as you might expect, our crack team of researchers, I said crack, our crack team of researchers here at Drinking News got busy on the Google this week to try and understand this flaccidity fiasco.
If only there was a supercomputer that we could ask that would fit in our hand.
And they came up with a few things that might be causing the problem. And as you probably guessed by now, but they prepared these findings in the form of another of our highly dreaded Drinking News Top 5 lists, and I have that for you here now.
Nice.
This would be the top 5 reasons that younger men are having increasing problems swinging the mast. Top 5 reasons a younger man may be having some problems with ED. Number 5, they're really into the Easter Bunny furry thing, so their successful mating season is pretty much limited to March and April. Number 4, the younger man mixes up his little blue pills with his wife's bottle of Aleve. Now he can't get aroused, and she always has a headache. Number 3, they leave the TV on during sexy time, and those insurance commercials with Flo keep coming on, causing instant deflation. Number 2, whenever he...
Flo's hot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, come on now.
Oh, Flo is so
give it to
not hot.
Give it to Flo.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Number 2, whenever he tries to prolong a sexy time session by thinking about baseball, he immediately deflates. This is because he's a Mets fan. And the number 1 reason that a younger man may be having problems with ED, number 1, always seems to lose his erection when his wife is fantasizing and exclaims, "Give it to me, Carrot Top." Reporting live from the South Hills Village Mall in Pittsburgh, where I have to admit, I'm kind of turned on by the performer in the Bugs Bunny dressed as Carmen Miranda costume. Especially when he hits me with a white glove and says, "Oh, you cad, you masher." My name is Cruz, and that, my friends, is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right, we have just a moment. Man, what am I drinking again? This Glenmorangie? This is so good. Wow. All right, so I want to see how we do. Going to our beer, our final beer for the show today is pretty interesting. It's
Tempered by Millpond.
An Imperial Stout from Millpond Brewing. What does it say about the beer there, Ian?
It says tempered.
I think it says a little more than that.
Okay,
I think you
hold
can
on.
find a little more than that.
Well, they hit it a little bit.
Okay.
Imperial Stout, aged in still 630 bourbon barrel, then conditioned on cocoa nibs from Ghana, Haiti, and Uganda.
Oh,
Coming in at 13.4%.
wow. So it is very boozy, but actually very delicious.
It's also really, really good with this whiskey.
Well, yeah, thank you. I was going to go back and forth here and talk about this, but what are you getting when you go back to the whiskey?
It turns the whiskey into a bit of a graham cracker or
I'm getting graham cracker and cinnamon.
yes, and this whiskey is so good to begin with though. It's the maple notes and again a little bit of that salinity and the finish is so good.
Do you, Dan, is there a reason that whiskeys like this, that are kind of what I would call upper tier whiskeys, is there a reason that they pair with stouts so well?
Especially barrel-aged stouts.
That's a really good question, because you would think on its surface the math doesn't necessarily math.
Right.
Again, stouts aren't necessarily the liquids that play well with others, but I think there's an undeniable malty family resemblance that you end up with, where then we'll talk about barrels and so on and so forth, but the raw ingredient, the tie that binds, of course, is the raw ingredient. With a stout, you've got a decent amount of malted or modified barley, but a good solid chunk of pale malt as well. So I think that's it. I think it's the biscuit, the biscuit that binds.
They connect.
When I go back from this nectar back to the stout, it's even better than it was before.
So the tempered is very bourbon-y, stouty. Like it comes across like when you think, okay, what does this taste like if you've put it in bourbon barrels? It literally is a poster child for that profile.
Well, my first
coffee, and this takes some of the bourbonness out of it.
Well, yes, I was going to say my first thought was that this might not work that well because this is a more bourbon influenced stout because it's aged in bourbon barrels. And I thought, I don't know how this will marry with the Glenmorangie, but the Glenmorangie kind of calms it down in a wonderful
brings out
way.
some vanilla. It brings out a few other things.
And I love. I'm just a vanilla fan. I think that the Bare Naked Ladies said it best when they said vanilla is the finest of the flavors, and I feel like they were spot on, and I love it in this. And this, honestly,
it takes a bit of complexity out of the nectar when you go back to it. It turns it into a little more of a graham cracker with some vanilla. But it still works pretty well.
Ian, we have one more Glenmorangie Spirit to try, and this is the one that you brought. Tell me what we're going to be doing in this next segment.
This is the 19. This is available only at duty-free places, as far as I know, correct?
Right, and we no longer create it. So when you see it in duty free, it's sort of an urgent situation.
So go ahead and buy
urgent,
it.
as in buy now.
Yes, that's yes.
I gotcha. We'll try this next. I'm thrilled that you brought this in from your bar.
Nice.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I titled today's episode, Dan Crowell Rescues the Show. And that's exactly what he has done. We've had a maybe like a tough couple of weeks. So Dan has stepped in and made this a show that's all about what we love. About spirits and beers, and we love listening to Dan talking about things. But this latest thing that he's talking about, or going to talk about, I think, is actually all from Ian's personal collection. And
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled that Ian has, decided that we're important enough to share it with. So this is the Glenmorangie 19.
So I got this.
Right.
I got this on a cruise last year, end of October, and on the cruise, the deal is you go into the little liquor store. You can't even drink it while you're on the cruise, but they. And I'm amazed at people that buy the same bottles you can buy.
That you
back
can buy at
home.
home. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you thinking? But I found a couple bottles of whiskey that I've never seen before, and this is one of them. Like, I'd
this
never
being
seen
the Glenmorangie 19.
the 19 before. Now,
What did you pay for it? Do you mind saying?
Oh, 120, 130.
Okay.
Well done. Well done.
Well
Is
done,
what
he
they
said.
had
I
a little
love it.
sale
love it.
going on, and I was like, okay,
Yo, yes.
yeah. So between this and the other one, I spent a couple $100 in whiskey, and that's fine. Especially to find something that you only get, because there are a lot of whiskeys. All companies make whiskeys that you can only get at duty-free shops.
Well, I just want to point out, I know Ian very well. We've been doing this show for 478 episodes up until today. So I know that he's not a rich guy. So when he says, I found a whiskey at $100 and some odd, and that's okay, that means a lot more to me than if somebody who has, more unlimited funds says that, right?
There are a lot of
Right.
brands that would have a whiskey at that price point that I wouldn't buy, but Glenmorangie
100%, yeah.
is it guaranteed at
Yeah.
that price point? It doesn't matter. It's going to be fine.
So what are we looking at, Dan? I know you don't have the 19 there, but what are we looking at with this? What is this that we're going to drink?
Right. So what we did with the 19-year travel retail was essentially to give people some insights into what Glenmorangie 18 would taste like if it didn't have any influence of Oloroso sherry. So if you break the 18 down, about 30% of what's in a bottle of 18 year spends 3 years in first fill Oloroso sherry. The rest of it is all ex-bourbon oak. So what you have with the 19 is all ex-bourbon oak with no influence of Oloroso sherry.
Well, I'll tell
Okay,
you
and
right.
you can get the oak right up front.
I'll tell you, oak
It's
and
a-
honey.
It's just a brilliant dram.
Oak and
Our
honey,
19
honey
is
right up front,
one
yeah.
of my favorite expressions that we've done in quite some time. So I'm having the 18 next to you as a sort of a point of contrast.
Cheers,
So,
my friend.
Tell me, Dan, the difference between the 18 and the 19. What would you describe that to be?
Yeah. So I think with the 18, one of the things, and we've talked a little bit about the influence of sherry cask. I think the 18 is exquisite at keeping sherry influence in the place that the designer of the whiskey wants it to be, and to not let it paint outside the lines as whiskey,
that.
as sherry casks are wont to do.
This is why I love having him on the show, by the way. His explanations just like that.
As you know, they take a mile, or they can take a mile when you want to give them an inch. So we restrict how much that time for Glenmorangie 18 sees in Oloroso for that reason, so that it does a thing, but not too much of that thing. In this case, I think what you've got is a bit more bold, round. I think it's more true to the Glenmorangie soul. It isn't strictly just Glenmorangie original with a whole bunch more time, but it is what would happen if you just put the house style Glenmorangie in a cask, left it for a damn long time.
So
what would happen?
this
There
is-
isn't anything else coming.
This is it comes across on my palate like massive honey. Like the honey
Yes.
is so beautiful. There's some vanilla behind it. There's also a bitter stone fruit behind it, and it's a
yeah.
little intense in the best possible way.
Is this a higher ABV than some of the other ones that we've
I
tried?
think it's at 43. I think so.
Good
You correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, at 43. You're exactly right.
Wow. So this is not heavily overproofed then, but it kind of hits you with that same sort of flavor explosion that you get from some overproofed
This is
whiskeys.
To back up
Right
what
on.
you said earlier, this is like if you took the 12 and you just made it incredibly complex and added, like, it to me, it takes the 12 to the next level.
Right.
Whereas the 18 has some different adjuncts to it, right?
Exactly right.
This
Exactly right.
is a little more of a straight line to that. And it's really, really nice. This is my first time tasting it. I love the minerality. Like, remember we talked about the minerality in the 12?
The 12, yeah.
The minerality is big in this, and it's almost to the point of a slight bitterness on the end, which I absolutely adore. Because it also has a little stone fruit going on there. There's
Yes.
some brighter flavors in there, like the tangerine you mentioned earlier, and a few other things. But there's also a slight salinity in there that only came in, I think, on the 16 when I mentioned it earlier.
Right.
None of the other ones had that. It leaves it in the aftertaste, like right now in my mouth. The retrohale on this has a little tiny bit of that vanilla and almost a maple syrup kind of thing, or maybe a bourbon-y kind of thing. It's very interesting.
Dan, let me ask you this. 19 obviously is a very well-aged expression. I've had Balvenie 31.
Right on.
And it was freaking fantastic. But is there a point of no return in aging for a whiskey like this? In other words, 5 years from now, would the juice that's in the 19 be even better, or is there a drop-off point?
It just becomes different depending on how you're making your new make. If you're making your new make specifically for long-term sherry influence or laying down for a very long time, you might have a broader heart cut. You might have a shorter set of stills. You might ferment for longer. Whatever it is that lends itself to that. For whatever reason, Glenmorangie resists the temptation to be overwhelmed by time and oak. I think one of the truly sort of inexplicably magic elements of Glenmorangie is that it maintains an exuberance no matter the age. And we've so far, at least
The
right this
sparkle
minute,
does not wear off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the oldest whiskey we've ever released, at least to date, has been 41 years old. And even then, there's a youthfulness. It's like hanging out with Dr. Bill. He's even older than I am,
guy's
and yet
great.
he is one of the most sort of vibrant and youthful guys you want to hang out with. I think that's the embodiment of Glenmorangie. It continues to get interesting and complex and deep and rich, but it never loses its buoyancy on the palate.
Yeah.
Unlike hanging out with Dr. Oz, which does nothing for my palate.
Nothing good.
Nothing good. So, guys, I got to tell you, this has been one of my favorite shows of all time. I feel like you, Dan, have completely righted the ship here at Smokin' and Toastin'. And I just want to thank you for that, because your
you-ness.
enthusiasm and your you-ness is what we love most about having you on. And can we please do this again? Because
Absolutely.
I absolutely love doing this with you. And the spirits have all been incredible. Ian, this Glenmorangie 19...
We will make this once a year no matter what.
Absolutely.
And more
Okay.
if you guys have new stuff coming out.
And all I have to
Hell
say
yeah.
about this 19 is that I hope you don't disappear and go to the men's room anytime soon, because this will be going home with me.
It's really good.
Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you both
Thank you
very
to
much.
everybody
I'm
who was
honored.
involved in sort of riding the ship here at Smokin' and Toastin'. And we will see you again next week. And my friends, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
We can do it!